Growing up as the eldest daughter means a few things.
I never was a kid. I never got to be a kid. I've always been the supporter of my parents, my siblings. I've never once just got to be a kid.
You're an overachiever. You get really good grades. You're expected to be an example for your younger siblings.
This is how I know you're the oldest daughter.
You're so mature for your age. You make such a good impression everywhere you go.
I know. I talk like an adult and act like an adult because I deal with adult issues all the time.
You're always there to help others, but sometimes it feels like no one's ever there to help you. You hide your feelings and emotions to avoid burdening other people. They already have quite a lot to deal with. In any group setting, you're hyper aware of all the people's feelings and emotions. You want to make sure everyone's included. You want to make sure no one's offended anyone else. If this resonates with you, you might have what's called eldest daughter syndrome.
This is giving major eldest daughter syndrome. You know, she's the one that keeps the family together. She's the glue. She's the one that's like taking care of the little siblings, dealing with the da-da-da-da. You know, it's like it's like this weight that they put on the eldest daughter.
Being the overachieving, perfect daughter or even perfect sibling can have its perks. It comes with a lot of praise, a lot of admiration, a lot of validation. But feeding off of other people's opinions over time has slowly morphed you into the person that you needed to be, not the person that you want to be.
I realized I just couldn't do life the way that I had been doing it anymore.
There was a time when I felt like a shell of a person. Like I was just living out a bunch of responsibilities, a bunch of duties, a bunch of expectations. I was never living life for me. When you're the eldest daughter, you're constantly switched on. You're constantly on high alert, looking to fix problems and fix people and help people, but you never get any downtime for yourself. And maybe you've decided, enough. I've had enough of this. I've had enough of living life for everyone else but me. I've had enough of prioritizing everyone else above myself. I've had enough of looking out for everyone else but no one else looking out for me. If this is you, you're in the right place. Because being the eldest daughter isn't easy, but overcoming it can be. Hey, if you're new, I'm Christina and I make videos for people who are feeling lonely. If you're a people pleaser, overachiever, overthinker, over anything out, then you're in the right place. I want to talk about eldest daughter syndrome. There is a shared experience that being the eldest sibling comes with, where you are essentially the third parent. Not only are you the third parent for your siblings, but you also kind of parent yourself. And I touch on that a lot in my videos and I kind of wanted to make a dedicated video on it. Depending on how long you followed me for, I know you might be like, Christina, but you're an only child. Like, you don't understand. There are actually some similarities because bear in mind, I am an only child, but I was in foster care, which I don't speak about a lot, but I was in foster care for 3 years and I was the eldest of 4 siblings temporarily before I went back to being an only child. But also as an only child, my mum and dad aren't together. They are divorced. So I have a very complex situation, upbringing dynamic, but all of these things that I talk about in this video and all of the things that I talk about on my channel are like my own lived experience. One of the biggest struggles that come with being the eldest sibling and essentially being the third parent is just the pressure to live up to an ideal without even trying or without knowing. They'll give you the expectation that you have to help raise your siblings or you have to help look after them. You have to pick them up from school. You have to cook for them. You have to clean for them. Even if it wasn't said verbally, it's kind of implied or suggested. Sometimes this pressure that's put on you or these expectations that are put on you, they slowly over time turn into self-imposed pressure you put on yourself, expectations that you put on yourself to live up to, where your parents set the bar, if you don't perform at this level, you're not good enough, or we don't love you as much. We're not going to say that we love you. If you don't reach this level and stay at this level, then you're not good enough. You slowly do that to yourself. And I feel like this shows up when you start to be a young adult or you start to be in your late teens and you actually realize you can never take breaks, you're just always working. I'm very curious, give this video a thumbs up if you've had a day off or you've had a vacation, but you literally get uncomfortable and agitated at the fact that you're not doing anything. There would be so many times growing up when I'd use my weekends or I'd use my days off, I'd use my vacations to get more work done. And it wouldn't even be I have things to do. There's no actual deadlines I need to meet. Exams are done. I'm off for the summer. I don't really need to do anything, but I give myself things to do. I just feel so uncomfortable when I'm not doing anything. I feel like I'm not good enough if I'm not doing anything. And I feel like this is textbook experience of the eldest sibling. It's almost like you see a good use of your time is maximizing your time. You've got 1 hour and your standard of, I did a good job in that hour is you jamming as much as you can into that hour, ticking as many things off your to-do list as you can. And I feel like maturing is realizing that that's maybe a toxic coping mechanism. Or if it wasn't pressure to get things done, it was like, oh, you need to be more like your cousin. Or your cousin's a doctor now. Your cousin just got married. Your cousin's this, your cousin's that. You need to be more like them. When I was in foster care many years ago, I was like 8 all the way up until 11, and then I left. I remember the pressure that I had put on me. It was never comparing me to anyone else because I wasn't related to them. Like, I'd never met this family before I went into foster care with them. It was very much just like everything that I did that wasn't up to their standard. Like, they would just constantly reiterate the idea that this isn't good enough. Like, Christina, you're not good enough. Like, you're not acting your age. You should act more mature. It was like, no matter how much I tried, things were never good enough. A common thing they would say is like, Christina, you're not a kid anymore. Stop acting like a kid. Like, start acting your age. Start acting mature. And I'm laughing because I literally was like 8. Like, I was literally an 8-year-old. Having said that, back to the main point of this chapter. You're constantly given the pressure to live up to an ideal, whether that's the ideal of your cousin or an ideal of act your age, act mature, or an ideal of this is what we expect of you. It's just like you're constantly fighting against this imaginary thing. What's helped me with this, because this is a solid like 12 years ago, this pressure started from a place of someone else trying to shape you into what they wanted you to be. Like your parents, again, I don't want to paint parents out to be bad because I know some of you guys are parents. I see your comments. Like, I know it's unintentional sometimes, but this pressure was put on you to kind of help you be more help to them. They needed help in their own lives as a parent. Like, they needed an extra pair of hands. They needed a third parent. And you were the first one to come out of the womb. You became the third parent. Another really common problem that these sorts of people have is pretending to be okay. If you're really prone to identity crises and you commonly, like, I'm talking like every other month, you're like, who even am I? I don't know who I am. I don't know what I like. I don't know what I really want. Like, I know what I think I should want, but is that what I want? I don't know what I want to do. I don't know where I want to go. I don't know who I am. Like, if you feel like you're clutching at straws at an identity, you don't know who your personality is, you're so agreeable, you just say yes to everything. You just say, oh yeah, I'm cool, I don't mind. Oh yeah, whatever you want. I'll do what you want. I'll go where, like, you don't know who you are. If this is you, I feel like one of the common reasons is because you're always pretending to be okay. The funny thing about this is, when this was me, I didn't even understand that's what I was doing. I didn't, it sounds stupid, but I didn't know I was allowed to feel emotions. I didn't know that I was allowed to be angry. I didn't know I was allowed to be sad. I didn't know that I could get excited. Like, all of these things felt like I didn't have permission for them. What I mean by this is, like, when I was in foster care, there were certain times when, like, I don't know, you know when you're a kid and you just have a sudden outburst of excitement, like something stupid happens in like a game you're playing and you get excited and you, I don't know, make a loud noise or you knock something over, you like make a mess, you get told off. And then, you know, you get like a grilling from your parent or whatever. And then you sit down and you think, oh, I shouldn't be excited anymore. Like, I shouldn't get excited about things. Or, I don't know, something stupid happens, maybe in like a game or something silly. You lose your doll when you're outside in like Asda and you start crying. You have like a hysterical fit, like typical toddler, typical child. You make a fuss and you're crying in public. And maybe then other parents, other adults look at your parent and they're like, why is your daughter crying? Like, why is your daughter having a hysterical fit? And, you know, typical parent, they'll make things out to be quite cool in public. Like, oh, she's fine. But when you get home, there's trouble. Like, you get told off. Why did you do that? You're making me look bad. Like, all this stuff. You then learn, oh, I'm not allowed to have like an outburst and I'm not allowed to cry. I'm not allowed to like be really upset about me losing my doll. But I feel like sometimes when you're just pretending like everything's okay, it's because you've like numbed all of your emotions. I can't speak for you, but I did that because I didn't realize I was allowed to feel all these things. And it all stems from like way back when I maybe had an emotional outburst and it was like, Christina, you're not allowed to do that. So I naturally, as the overachieving, great like learner that I am, I learned that like, oh, I'm not allowed to have these emotions anymore. Say on the surface, you're managing to get through school and get through work. You know, you're living your day-to-day life, you're on the grind, the Monday to Friday, you just repeat. Every week is the same. And on the surface, you seem okay, but deep down, you do feel a bit lost and you feel a bit miserable. You feel a bit unhappy with the way things are. I think, and the advice I would give to anyone who resonates with what I've said is, you're not miserable deep down because you're actually sad. You're miserable because you spend so much time pretending not to be sad. So much of your unhappiness is because you're pretending to be something that you're not. Something that a lot of elder siblings will probably have is this thing that I call the responsibility burden. Basically, sometimes you do want to just detach and like step away from all the hassle and responsibilities of your family. Like you're kind of the glue keeping things together, and you're the one fixing everything and keeping tabs, but like you literally can't step away because of how much is going on. Like I call it like the responsibility burden. Like you're burdened by it because of all the responsibility. And something that's helped me feel a lot more comfortable, like detaching from other people's problems. Like someone's life is like falling apart and they need help, and I'm just like, I'm gonna lovingly let you deal with that on your own. I'm not gonna step in. Is knowing that sometimes you trying to bubble wrap everyone isn't what's best for them. For example, say you literally had like a toddler and they're learning to walk, typical thing, toddlers will crawl and then they'll like slowly stand up and then they'll fall down and then they'll stand back up again and they'll fall down and they'll stand back up again. They're probably going to get a bit bruised. They're probably going to fall on their bum. They're probably going to start crying. They're probably going to hurt themselves if they're in, I don't know, hard flooring on the wood. Like, people getting hurt is part of the learning process. And sometimes I know it's really tough with your family. Like it's really, really tough. I know it's tough, but it's like sometimes standing back and just letting people mess up is actually what's best for them. If they don't learn, how are they going to grow? And sometimes you're weirdly trying to do the growing for them, and maybe that's why you are so mature now and you are so hardworking now. You've done all the growing you could possibly do because you've done it on their behalf. But it gets to a point where you are so drained in yourself, you're so exhausted. The best thing for you is actually to take a step back and watch cousins, family, like whoever it is. It really all depends. Like whoever it is, you can just watch them make mistakes from a distance and not feel like you have to step in, because that's not what's always best for them. Another weirdly common trait I think a lot of these elder siblings, only children have, is sometimes you're so ambitious, it literally makes you a bit sad. What I mean is, like, have you ever been so ambitious and you've set a goal, super like, I want to achieve this in 5 years, I want to have this business, I want to, like, I don't know, be in the best law firm sort of thing. And like you dream it up in your head, you fantasize about it, maybe you like watch videos, like you really like live that world. And then you're brought back to earth and like you see where you live or you see the grades that you get. And it just makes you sad that like this dream you have, it feels so hard to attain. Sometimes because these people, like eldest daughters, elder siblings, only children, are so, like, you're so logical, like you think your way out of problems. Like it's why you're so academic or why you're so intelligent. So then when you've got this dream, you're literally looking at the steps to get to the dream, the steps to get to the law firm, and it's looking like a leap after another leap after another leap, and you're just like, how am I actually going to achieve that? I am convinced eldest siblings are some of the most accomplished people in the world. I'm sure some of the most accomplished CEOs, business owners, like I'm sure some of them are like eldest siblings, only children. Like I just know it, because you're so logical and so problem solvy. It helps you achieve your goal. It's a blessing and a curse. Being in control is how you fix lots of things. But what I find is this can also kind of hold you back when it comes to achievements. What I've experienced in my life is someone who's been the very driven, control freak sort of person, and someone who's a lot more like, I'm just going to let go now and see how it goes. Both of them are very, very powerful. I can't emphasize this enough. Sometimes I think you're at a bit of a disadvantage when you like being in control and you like being on the front foot and like you like fixing everything, because you start to build up the belief that like, in order to achieve, I need to bring control. In order to fix things, I need to be in charge. In order to get things done, I need to be like hands on deck. I need to be involved. And you don't have a lot of experience in seeing the fact that like I can let go and I can detach and like things will all work out. Things will work out better than I expected. I can do the bare minimum actually, and actually my dream could actually come true. Sometimes when you're this sort of person, you don't experience that. You don't get to see it. And like I'm only putting in this video because I've seen it in my own life. Sometimes like being out of control and doing nothing and literally watching the unknown unfold, like you don't know what's going to happen. Like, quick story time. When I was applying to med schools, I had 2 in particular I really wanted to go to, and then one that was like my absolute number one. And my first 2 interviews were the first 2. The first one was the one I was kind of like on the fence about and I didn't mind, and it went awfully. Like I literally came out crying. I was in the car with my mum and she was like, are you okay? Like I wasn't saying anything, just crying, and she was like, okay, it doesn't sound good. The next one I went to was the one I really, really wanted, and thankfully that went well. Like I came out of that very, very confident. I was like, I'm pretty sure I've got this in the bag. bearing in mind medical school is so competitive, like I still should have gone to the last 2, but because I came out of it so confident, I literally cancelled the other 2 interviews. Don't ask me why. I look back at 19-year-old Christina who did that, and I'm like, you had 4 interviews to go to, and you cancelled 2 of them. You cancelled half of your interviews because you were so confident on the number 1 that you thought went well. Anyway, it all worked out in the end because I went to my dream medical school, graduated this summer. But that story is to say, I don't know, I remember I came out and I had a gut feeling that like, oh, it's all worked out. I'm going to go here. I know it's going to work out. Let me cancel the other 2. And I had no proof. I had no logic with it. It was just like a gut feeling. And I'm glad that it all worked out. I'm glad that I wasn't absolutely crazy and like canceling my other 2 interviews actually. Imagine if I only went to the 2 and they both rejected me, and then I would have had none. I wouldn't have been able to go to med school. Like, I don't know. Looking back, I'm like, that's such a brave move for a 19-year-old. I think I was 18 at the time. I was 18 because I was still in school. That's a very brave move for an 18-year-old to make. But what I'm trying to say is like, sometimes you just have a gut feeling about things and you have no evidence. I had no evidence. I had no proof that they didn't say they loved me. They didn't say, Christina, you're accepted. Like they never said that. I just had a gut feeling that I've got it, and I just went with it. I trusted the unknown, and it all kind of worked out. What I'm trying to say is, please don't limit yourself weirdly to your biggest advantage, which is working hard and being in control, because chances are that is your biggest advantage, but then it can also be the thing that holds you back the most. And trust me, just in the same way that you've reaped rewards from working hard, you can also reap rewards from not working hard as well. If there's one thing that I learned from that medical school bold move, cancelling half of my interviews moment, it was that sometimes achievement doesn't always come from working. Sometimes it comes from trusting. Like sometimes you achieve purely based on the fact that like you trusted your gut, or you trusted like a little message in your head, like you had a little like message, you just trust it. Like that is how you achieve. You don't need to work, you just need to trust that. Speaking of our biggest advantages, another thing that I want to touch on is the fact that some of us are very highly accomplished, but then also very self-critical. I feel like this goes hand in hand. The typical overachieving type A, all the awards under the sun, head girl, valedictorian, but also very negative self-talk, hates themselves, never thinks they're good enough, always thinks they have to achieve the next goal to be good enough sort of person. I'm planning, I think my next video after this, depending on when it comes out, is basically for the new year, 2025, new year, new me. I'm planning on like 7 things to change for this specific sort of person. So definitely subscribe if you're interested, or if you've enjoyed this video so far, because I feel like when you're this sort of hyper accomplished person, you sort of convince yourself that in order to achieve more and in order to like feel better about myself, I need to do more. I need to read more books, watch more videos. And what I've seen in my life is that sometimes you are the exact sort of person that needs to do less. Like you've kind of gotten to this space by the amount that you do. Like the volume of work that you put in and the volume of pressure you put on yourself has gotten you here. And sometimes it's actually doing less work and less pressure, taking those days off and actually doing nothing, not cramming your vacations with actual work. That's what helps you feel better. It can be a vicious cycle sometimes where you feel like the harder I work, then the better I'll feel. Like the more you tell yourself, don't you? Like, I'll tell yourself, like, oh, if I just do these last 100 questions, then I'll feel better. Then I'll go to bed. Let me just finish my assignment. Then I'll be done for the weekend. And it's 3 a.m. on a Saturday. You kind of convince yourself that praise and like validation is going to be the antidote for all your negative self-talk. If I just get enough reassurance, then I'll mentally feel better. If I just get like, I don't know, if I just tick another box, then I'll feel better. It's almost like you're trading your work for your self-esteem. Do you know what I mean? You're trading one for the other. This might not even be related to sort of a parent situation. Like maybe, I don't know if I should have included it in this video, but I just thought I struggled with that a lot, and maybe some of you guys do too, where I feel like there's a weirdly toxic, synergic relationship between being really, really accomplished and wanting to get things done, but also being so self-critical and so hard on yourself. And you promise yourself that you'll stop when you get the things done, but by the time you get the things done, there's a new thing that you need to get done to stop. Like, it never ends. What's helped me in this department is this concept of enough. I don't chase being better anymore. I don't chase being like smart. I don't at work, I don't chase being a better doctor. I don't chase on YouTube. I don't chase being a better YouTuber. I don't chase being like, I don't chase more. I don't think more is better. Truly. I don't chase that thing of being more and being better, and you know, I don't have that anymore. Something that really, really helped me is striving for enough. Like, Christina, you are good enough. You did enough work. You posted enough, you edited enough, you filmed enough, you spoke to the patient enough, you documented enough, you prescribed enough. Like, you are enough, you are okay. And weirdly enough, that actually helped my self-esteem a lot. I prioritized enough versus better for I'd say maybe like a year now, because I was reading my old diary the other day, and I was like roughly a year to the day I was reading about like how I was feeling back then and the problems I had like a year ago. And I was only just learning that, Christina, you're never going to be happy if you constantly try to be better every day. Like, it's cute. Okay, the 1% better every day is cute. Like, I do like that sometimes. I was reading that journal and I was like, Christina, you're never going to be happy if this is how you live. Sure, this helped you get to med school. Sure, this helped you to grow a following on TikTok, which was my first social media that I ever grew. Like, sure, it's helped you to work with startups and build up your CV. Sure. Are you happy though? Versus now, fast forward a year later, I feel like focusing on Christina, that's enough. You did enough. You tried enough. You tried your hardest. Like, that's enough. That's okay. That weirdly helps me feel a lot happier, and maybe in a weird way it helped me be more successful as well. It's hard to track these things. If there was one thing that I've mentioned in the video that's definitely helped me the most, it would definitely be that. I am going to be doing, like I said, a part 2/follow-up where I'm talking on like tips for the new year, especially given it's going to be like the hustle grind, new year, new me. Like, I don't know if anyone else is like bored of that concept. I'm kind of bored of it, but I want to make a video specifically for this group of people. So if you're interested in that, then definitely subscribe. Thank you so much for watching. I love all of you guys so much. I don't say that enough. I should probably say it more. I genuinely am so grateful for the following that I've built and the comments that I get from you guys, the emails that I get. I feel like I really have made a safe space on the internet of like-minded people, and I'm so grateful. If you enjoyed this video, you might enjoy my 7 signs you're more confident than you think video, where I was sharing subtle signs that like low-key give off that you're like a lot more confident than you think. But if you made it into this far into the video, thank you especially so much. This is a very long video. I've been filming like 45 minutes. I'll see you on the next one though. Bye.